Hi, everyone. Welcome to our roundtable. Today we are working on this roundtable together in collaboration with Latitude Compliance, Mark Hertz company, and special guests from New York City Accelerator. My name is Adina Banyan. I'm the executive manager for Latitude Compliance.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Hertz from Mark Hertz Company. Glad to be joining on our third monthly webinar with Latitude Compliance. Marty Weisbrod from Latitude, Adina Banyan from Latitude, Sarah Nakafar from Latitude. I hope I pronounced your last name properly. Forgive me if I didn't. And of course, our guest, Larry, drum roll, please. Larry Katz from New York Accelerator. And we are here to work in conjunction with Latitude to help with violation issues and compliance issues that Mark Hertz company has been ever so focused on for a mere few days since 1984.
Thank you, Mark, for that great introduction. And we'll get into more detail about who we are and our companies, and in general, what is climate change, what is carbon emissions, why are we even getting these local laws. We'll talk about specifically Local 97 and what it entails, what are our 13 phases of compliance and how we kind of work together with New York City Accelerator and Mark Hertz, and then we'll open it up for a question and answer roundtable discussion. This is our Latitude team. I'm just going to introduce Marty Weisbrod. I know that Mark already did that, but he's our CEO and founder of Latitude Compliance.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. Appreciate you taking the time to come join us. I'm the president and founder of Latitude Compliance. My background is in New York City development and construction for the past 25 years. I also own a company that deals with construction technology. So together, utilizing the experience of my fabulous staff that I have in both companies that bring tremendous amount of experience to the table in the industry of both real estate, construction, and management within New York City. We formed this company to be able to allow management companies and real estate owners to keep on doing what they know how to do best and leave the compliance to us. We're passionate about getting this done and getting it done correctly to meet the standards that New York City has established and the benchmarks that New York City has rolled out in order to make us more environmentally friendly and eventually reach a zero carbon footprint. That is the goal of Local 97, and both Adina and Sarah come from backgrounds. Adina is a sustainability architect, and Sarah has degrees in sustainability as well. And they are both personally passionate about the environment and passionate about bringing New York City more into compliance with national and international standards of environmentally friendliness. And with that, I'll hand it back to Adina, and we'll go back and forth over the roundtable with questions and input as we move along.
Thank you, Marty, for the introduction of our Latitude team. And we also have a couple of internship programs. We work, with New York City Accelerator and on our own research groups and work with other organizations, as you can see here. This is the Mark Hertz team. I want to, formally introduce Mark Hertz, the CEO and founder of Mark Hertz Company.
I thank you. I guess I jumped in before I didn't belong. I guess I'm overly passionate, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be working together with Marty Weisbrod of Latitude and his construction company, and those that work together with him, Adina Banyan and Sarah Nakafar. This time I know I pronounced the name properly. And of course, as I said before, our guest, Larry Katz. We've been doing violations and filing and expediting since 1984, and we are passionate about what we do. We're also passionate about the environment and we're passionate about compliance with the New York City Council and New York City rules and regulations. And we are here to see sustainability at its peak and help the environment as well, and help people, as Adina and Sarah will explain, help people live longer and healthier lives.
Yes, exactly. And we are so excited to be in collaboration, working together with you, where we both of our expertise are joined together to make a very collaborative and strong force for the retrofits that are needing to be made and the filings that are needing. Lastly, I want to introduce the New York City Accelerator representative, Larry Katz, who's the lead energy engineer.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here this morning. Good morning, everyone. I am an energy engineer and the technical lead on the program. I'll talk about the program in a little bit and what we do, and essentially how we look to enable sustainability measures, energy cost reduction measures to save energy, save money, and to lower carbon emissions.
Thank you, Larry. Yeah, so as we mentioned, this is our three companies, three organizations, and we're all kind of working together here. And I'm going to, I guess, Marty, do you want to start with like why you started Latitude? I know that we originally, we started at a construction company, and why you felt like it was a necessary thing.
So the reason that we started Latitude Compliance is because there are a multitude of different local laws within New York City. Most of the local laws in New York City deal with a specific building system, whether it's the gas testing local law or the local law of the facade. And those are maybe somewhat cumbersome, but pretty easy to deal with, since they are a one system type of local law. What we realized early on is that Local Law 97 is not a one system law, but rather it can have effects on multiple different building systems, and there are different ways to comply with the standards established in Local Law 97. And we came to the realization that that would be a difficult process for a typical building owner as well as a typical management company, because real estate management companies have their hands full managing their properties and dealing with various rules and laws all day. But Local Law 97 is sort of a standalone large law that touches on almost every building system within the building. And so we came up with the idea that it's going to take a management company to manage Local Law 97. We spent many years, probably 3 or 4 years by now, studying the law and studying the effects that it will have on New York City real estate, as well as the multiple updates to the law, and trying to come up with realistic ways to achieve the standards established within the law. The law was established to get to a goal, but it's and I'm sure Larry will interject on this and give his view, but I'm sure I can speak for New York City, is that New York City does not want people to fail. They want properties to succeed. They're not looking for properties to be overburdened and fail, but they do have a standard that they're trying to reach. And I think that it's going to take a very unique set of experience of not only us, but other people that will be involved within this process. And I'm sure there will be many more. And you're going to have to come up with creative ways, and that can also show value to the ownership, that being carbon friendly or being environmentally friendly does not have to bankrupt you, does not have to make you lose money. If it is done wisely and done in a way that is efficient, can actually lead to profits down the road. And we think that that's not only a slogan or I guess a marketing ploy, but we think that that's actually real and that can actually be achieved. But that needs to be done in a very in-depth way, and a very with a lot of experience behind the people that are doing it, in order to fully evaluate all the potential possibilities and get to that goal that Local Law 97 is looking to achieve.
Yeah, and not only that, there's also all those the penalties, the filing, the DOB approval, which is why we partnered with Mark Hertz company. I guess Mark Hertz, you want to say a little bit about our collaboration or how we work together, or why we've formed this partnership?
I'd like to add on to what Marty said, that not only will your building run better, but you'll have cost savings as well. You'll have cost savings on your water, on your electric, on your heat, if you run your building and comply with Local Law 97. So, I know in previous webinars we've discussed about people that don't subscribe to sustainability, don't subscribe to the issues in the environment, and they think this is all, for argument's sake, and forgive me for using these words because I don't believe in them, a hocus pocus. And it's not real, but it is real, because it's real in so many different ways. I'm not going to go into whether it's real because of global warming or it's real because of other environmental issues, but it's real if you just want to look at your pocketbook. If you want to look at the dollars and cents, it's real, because you will end up saving, and you will end up, there'll be an initial investment, of course, but you'll end up saving, and you'll be running a much more efficient building that will be to your benefit. I hope Mr. Katz agrees with what I'm saying. On top of that, we are here to help and facilitate with filings that may be needed at Department of Buildings in order to do that renovation work that is required to get to this compliance. And God forbid, when you get a violation, as always, don't go to a stranger, go to someone you know and that's proven and tested and that's been in the business for almost 4 decades, just shy of 4 decades, and that has a staff and a team that has worked together well. So Marty's been testing me out in his other businesses and construction business for the last X amount of years. And obviously I must have made him happy to some degree, because we got together and we decided that this seems like a good joint venture partnership, and therefore we are here together, and we're here because we care about you from your pinky toe up to the top of your head, and we're going to make this happen for you in compliance and do the right thing by you.
Yes, thank you. And we see the benefits as well. So that's why, it's a great collaboration on both ends. And then I guess I'm gonna, mention about New York City Accelerator. They have a fantastic program, and we're actually a service provider as well. But I guess, Larry Katz, I'm opening this up to you if you want to give a little overview about, how New York City Accelerator started and the details of how it works.
Sure, Adina, thanks. In short, the accelerator started actually in 2 iterations ago, when there was a move to remove the dirtiest heating fuel from use across New York City. That would be number 6 fuel oil. And then we evolved into a programs, the New York City Retrofit Accelerator, and now just the Accelerator, to help identify energy efficiency measures to save energy, lower carbon emissions, and reduce costs. Local Law 97 emerged in the last few years, passed in 2019, as really the greater incentive to raise awareness that we all need to limit carbon emissions, and there is city goals. And as Marty and Mark had said, this is about cost savings. It's about proper investments in buildings to not only be in compliance, but to retain property values. It's not too different than any condo owner or co-op shareholder that has a unit that they need to maintain for its value. And that also goes for the common systems in the building, heating, cooling, insulation, the envelope, the potential to put in solar energy panels. It's all about protecting the investment, the value of the building, to be in compliance, and to manage costs. And we're generally the enablers to help folks who are not sure where to start or what the priorities are to address in their building. That's what we do, is to help enable the process. We don't do work that the marketplace does. We don't do the work that Latitude or Mark Hertz company would do, but we welcome the partnerships with these firms and other firms to help give them that type of support and be the independent advisor that can help direct folks to realize their goals. So the accelerator, just to continue with that theme, is overseen by the Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice. We provide technical assistance. We help determine requirements and where people stand with local laws, and Local Law 97 in particular. We see what penalties they may be facing if nothing was to change, and we connect them with service providers for energy and carbon reducing projects. Could be measures that include adjustments on a heating system or upgrades to insulation, or potentially planning for, major projects to use electricity for both heating and cooling in a far more efficient way than, say, a 50-year-old steam boiler system. We also offer training for operators, building operators, industry personnel, stakeholders, people who help manage buildings, property managers, and the like. And there's also financing programs available, including a property assessment clean energy program, PACE. So anyone who is a stakeholder in a building, owner, manager, resident in buildings that are greater than 5,000 square feet, mostly existing buildings, but we also provide guidance for new construction. And these are all privately owned. We don't work with the New York City owned buildings, including New York City Housing Authority, NYCHA, or any of the municipal buildings. So these are all privately owned that we support, and we'll refer smaller buildings to other partner organizations. An account manager is dedicated to each property or property manager to help to identify the types of projects that can be smart investments and to meet compliance and to reduce costs. We're completely funded by the City of New York. There's no cost, there's no sign up, there's no commitment. We can utilize our services to whatever extent. And we often will say with partners that we can be an independent advisor just to answer questions and provide guidance and do some basic, give some basic explanations of what type of energy projects can make a difference. And so feel free to contact us or work with Latitude and Mark Hertz company, and they will bring us in as it makes sense. But we have a team that is ready to support and provide guidance to building stakeholders across the 5 boroughs, and hope we can all work together. And thank you so much.
Thanks, Larry, for that great overview about the New York City Accelerator program, which we all can agree is a great asset to the New York City market, the industry, the climate legislation, what's been going on. And between, all of us, we definitely utilize your services and work together. So now I'm going to pass this over to Sarah to talk about climate change and carbon emissions, which will run over what is carbon emissions and technically why you're getting fined for it. So feel free to put any questions in the Q&A and we will deal with those at the end of the webinar.
Great, thank you, Adina. So yeah, like Adina mentioned, we are going to start off with some background about climate change and carbon emissions, just because we find that with our clients and with anyone who's concerned about this law, having this background knowledge really helps them understand where the law came from and why it's so important for New York City especially. So we just ask that whether you're passionate about learning about climate change or not, you just keep an open mind as we go through this background information. So the big keyword for today is CO2 or carbon dioxide. And the emissions that we are talking about here, specifically with Local Law 97, are man-made emissions. And that's why it's so important in the conversation that we're having today. Because what effect do these man-made emissions, does carbon dioxide have on the climate? And the best way to describe it is like a blanket effect. So the CO2 that is emitted kind of sits on top of the air like a blanket, and it traps heat on the Earth's surface. And that's why you hear these terms like global warming and rising temperatures. It all has to do with this blanket effect. And where does the CO2 come from? Well, it comes from all types of places. This graphic right here shows you that it's not just one sector of a society that will have emissions. It's the industrial sector, it's the agricultural sector, it's transportation, it's all of these different things. But in New York City, what we know is that over half of the carbon dioxide emissions come from buildings. And so that's why New York City has specifically targeted the building sector with a lot of these local laws, because by doing so, they will have a really impactful effect on lowering carbon dioxide emissions. So when we're talking about the greenhouse gas effect, it's really similar to the blanket effect. It's this idea of trapping heat. And these emissions that you see here on the left are the most common emissions. So it's not just carbon dioxide, it's a whole list of these different types of gases that mix together and create this greenhouse gas effect or the blanket effect. But carbon dioxide is one of the most important ones to look at. And so when we are talking about emissions, we're going to convert all of those emissions to carbon dioxide just to have that one standard of emissions reductions. And you may be wondering, well, we already are experiencing this. We're experiencing rising temperatures. We're experiencing the greenhouse gas effect. So how do we combat that? And the cure that we've identified and that a lot of people have already identified is decarbonization and investing in renewable and alternative energy sources and through electrification. So you may be wondering, how do you know how much carbon your building is emitting? I mean, it's a gas, you can't see it, you can't hold it in your hand. And the answer is that you look at your utility bill. So that's actually how the fines and the penalties are determined. And another thing to note is that also, your building has on-site emissions, there's off-site emissions. On-site is what's occurring on the physical property. Off-site is the emissions that it took to get everything on your property there. But luckily, as of now, Local Law 97 is only looking at on-site emissions, but who knows what the future holds. So it's really important to also keep that in mind as we look towards the next couple of decades. The law will definitely evolve, and so we need to be kind of aware of the future potential changes that could happen. And we do think this is really important to look at as well, because these laws may all seem new to a lot of building owners, and they may seem like they came out of nowhere, and that can be really upsetting for people. But really, on a national level, the country has been fighting emissions for a while, and this all started in 1970 with the Clean Air Act. And this was the first time that as a country we set standards for certain pollutants. And just to note, the Clean Air Act resulted in vast economic benefits for the country, and it's improved the general health of the population drastically. And by doing so, that raises the average lifespan and things like that. And it's a leads to a healthier population overall. So there are multiple benefits to having legislation around improving air quality. And on a global level, in 1986, we had the Montreal Protocol, which the United States was a part of as well, which phased out the production of ozone-depleting substances. And this was the first time there was a global effort to address the environmental crisis. And that brings us to kind of the latest, most important global effort or international effort, which is the Paris Agreement, which kind of was agreed upon in December 12th of 2015, where over 197 countries pledged to reduce their carbon emissions. And the United States is a part of the Paris Agreement. And as a result of that, New York City is a part of the Paris Agreement as well. And so that's where a lot of these local laws not just began, but kind of were reinforced and will continue to grow in order to meet the agreement that we're a part of. And we just want to note that whether or not, there's a political shift in the country or not, New York City is already on board with these standards. And so Local Law 97 is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. So yeah, that was just a very brief background on climate change and carbon emissions and how we got to this point. And I'll pass it to Adina now, who will kind of get into the nitty gritty of Local Law 97 and the different types of buildings that are covered.
I'll just interject, Adina, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Sarah, when under then Mayor Bill de Blasio, when they came out with these laws, they were rightfully so, very proud of these laws. And New York City has taken the most aggressive position of any city or any state or any governing body in the United States of America. And so whether or not one subscribes to it or believes in it or not, doesn't believe in it, these are the laws. You might not believe in driving 55 miles an hour, but these are the laws. And the last I checked, the laws need to be followed. So either we get with the program or we enrich the city's pocketbook, and the city will still not send you a thank you note after you enrich the pocketbook.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, and that's really the difficult topic about it, because a lot of times people think, oh, this law was introduced in 2019, maybe we'll get,
It's not changing. Laws do
yeah,
not change.
at the end of the day, even the first revision of this law was done in like 2007, and then it just keeps changing and changing. So until now it became Local 97. So it's really more about, this is the law, and, having the background of understanding why the law came into place is helpful, but it doesn't mean that it's going to go anywhere.
The law has been planned for a long time. We once discussed this. The law has been planned for a long time when they started benchmarking and they started energy efficiency reports. I'm assuming, and maybe Mr. Katz can answer to this better than I can, I'm assuming that was part of the planning of this law, and they were building it up to a point that this law was going to go into effect.
Yeah, that's certainly true. And it's just part of a suite of laws, including having an energy audit every 10 years under Local Law 87 for buildings 50,000 square feet and higher, just to ensure that there is a standard of operation and pointing out the opportunities for further cost reduction and efficiencies.
Which was all noted in the latest public advisory board report, Local Law 97 advisory board report that came out in late December.
Yes. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Local 97 to, if you're not familiar with it, the who, what, when, and how. So basically, what are we looking at? We're looking at a 40% reduction of greenhouse gases by year 2030, which is why deadlines have already kicking in by 2024, because this 2030 deadline is so aggressive. We're talking about any building over 25,000 square foot in New York City needs to comply. How? There's literally a carbon cap every 5 years that your building needs to meet. And this carbon number that they're getting is from your utility bills. And they're, transferring that into what we call, the carbon cap, how much you need to meet. So you have a carbon cap that you need to meet based on similar buildings of a similar size and location, type, you're being compared with that, and that gap is technically what your fines are, which we'll get into the fines in a little bit. There are exemptions, but the exemptions are kind of fake, where they're more like you need to comply at a later date, or you have to, provide, you still have to report somewhat, show good faith measures, and you have to comply by 2030 or 2035, different deadlines, but it's still, you still have to comply. Now, recently there has been Mark was mentioning about this new relief that opened up. It was in late October, and it basically started implementing, instead of having the building types that we saw earlier, we're talking about property types. But in general, all of these property types, even though it's more, you have more definitions about what you can categorize yourself under, which may seem beneficial, the carbon caps in general have become more stricter, the deadlines have become more stricter, and the carbon coefficient also started to include any type of energy source. I guess I will ask Larry if you're here about this particular release. I know that it's supposed to be solidified sometime in early January. If you heard any update on that.
Well, the new components, the new rules, these adjustments were just approved. And since Local Law 97 starts with the 2024 energy year, meaning the consumption of energy from January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024, this will start to have the impact with next year's energy use, with a filing, the first Local Law 97 filing by May 1st of 2025.
Wow, so it's already being implemented and it's already starting to, all these strict, I know a lot of people were saying maybe it's going to get, more, less stringent, maybe it'll get more lenient, but no, it just keeps getting a bit more aggressive and already being implemented. Thanks, Larry. And then these are the fines. So technically, like, why should you care about Local 97? Obviously, we mentioned earlier about the benefits of having a healthier building, which we'll get more in detail in a little bit. But in general, it's very expensive not to care. We're talking about a fail to report 50 cents per square foot per month. And then exceeding your building's limit is $268 per metric ton over the building's limit. So if you're not meeting your carbon cap, false statement or misdemeanor, $500,000 and imprisonment. So it is pretty serious. So just as
Ouch. Ouch. This sounds like a lot of money.
Yes, it is. And we're just going to go through a quick example so you really have a good idea about what this means. So this example was actually used, as from the building types, not the property types which were just released. So this number is actually more lenient than what we're expecting for that report in May 1st of 2025. So this example is, some typical residential building, which is about 150,000 square foot. They filed 4 months late. And they're reaching, 2030 goals. And this is their calculations. With them exceeding emissions limit, they have around $168,000 yearly. But the real fine that we're really nervous about is a fail to report, which is around $300,000. And this is, obviously monthly. So pretty serious. I'm going to pass this along to Sarah, who is going to break down what our 13 phases of compliance are and how we approach the Local Law 97, legislation and how we deal with the solution.
Thanks, Dina. So yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so this is just kind of an overview of our 13 phases of compliance. And we like to think that we take our clients from the beginning of the process to the end, the whole way through. We are kind of navigating all of the difficult paperwork and finding all the proper subcontractors and vendors for them. And so this is just an overview of our 13 phases, but we'll actually break it down in the next couple of slides. So in addition to our 13 phases, our main approach is what we call our whole building approach. And so that's just the idea that we're looking at a building holistically. And so just like you are a person who has multiple systems in your body that work together to make sure that you're running efficiently, we view a building the same way. And so whenever we're thinking about local law 97, we're also taking into consideration all of the ESG related local laws and how by fixing one type of system or multiple systems, we're able to tackle as many ESG related local laws as possible so that you can have one fix for multiple local laws. And so just to provide that overview of our 13 phases of compliance, we start with benchmarking to meet compliance with local laws 84 and 133. And then we try and gather as much information as possible through initial building assessments and energy audits like ASHRAE 1 and 2. And this gives us a really good overview of your building and kind of where your building is at and also where you want to go with your building. And we kind of frame all of this around the idea of the overall health of your building matters, because if your building is a multifamily building and you have tenants, your tenants spend about 90% of their lives indoors. That's a statistic for how much an average American spends indoors. And so by improving the quality of your building, you're improving the indoor air quality of the building and therefore leading to a better tenant experience and making your building, like raising the value of your building overall. And so that's why all of this is a really positive thing for your building. And so continuing on with our 13 phases. So again, we just continue to kind of collect this data to have a full rounded view of your building. And then after we do that, we're able to identify the perfect subcontractors and retrofit options for your building. And this is something that we have extensive knowledge on through our parent company, Promont. And so we feel really confident with our connections and affiliations with different subcontractors. And so we're able to provide you with some of the best options that you are able to choose from after that point. And in addition to that, we also will research your options for renewable energy credits and carbon offsets in order to also meet compliance as well. And so just to kind of give an brief overview about the renewable energy credits, these are different options for types of renewable energy that you can invest in order to meet compliance as well. And if that's an option you want to go forward with, we can assist you with that.
But then are they really available out there? I was in the marketplace. I was told that they're very scarce and there aren't enough renewable energy credits. Would you know?
I heard that they are still in the process of coming up with how to categorize it, and also in what like jurisdiction, like what zones it's a part of, where is it coming from, who is it giving it to. There's still a certain like percentage that you're allowed to use like to kind of counteract your penalties. But I guess, Larry, if you have any other comments on the renewable energy or RECs in general.
Right, yes. Well, I think taking a step back, there's a couple of ways to go about taking advantage of renewable energy in privately owned buildings, and that could include community solar on top of buildings. We're subscribing to community solar, where offsetting of penalties is a possibility, as well as looking at other types of renewables as listed here. We have a staff, though, on the Accelerator team that specifically deals with solar and can do assessments that includes benefits of tax credits and the like, in addition to renewable energy credits. And again, this is free of charge and without and vendor neutral. So just to assess the possibilities of that type of project and what the benefits would be, including the potential for credits.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, and I believe in the updates, they mentioned different ways of how to utilize a battery storage, for example, as well, which seems also kind of promising.
So continuing on, we also are able to consider your building's operational carbon and embodied carbon. And like I mentioned previously, when we're looking at on-site and off-site emissions, currently Local Law 97 is only dealing with on-site emissions, but that may change in the future. We don't know. And so this is just something to consider in terms of our services as well.
Yeah, and with the new updates being, I guess, approved, we do see that carbon coefficient number, being utilized for like, clean energy sources, which is, different. If you're using it from solar, you still have a carbon coefficient, even though it's a 0, which makes me feel that embodied carbon may be included in the future. I guess, Larry, what would be your take on that?
I think it's a goal from the Department of Buildings to look at embodied carbon down the road, but keeping things as straightforward as possible for building owners and managers over the next several years. It's to reduce energy of existing systems and the improvements in efficiency of operations, and to plan for the larger projects to be low carbon operation over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then at Latitude, what we particularly do is we try to evaluate it to see if it's something worth to, invest in, as well as, with the renewable energies as well. We'll assess it, they're operational and embodied. Well, obviously it's not a priority as the operational, what you're getting fined for, but if you anyways can, you're switching something to have it in mind, it's always a good thing.
So then continuing on with our 13 phases, we assist with the financing, the design, making sure all the paperwork is done properly with the help of wonderful Mark Hertz company, and then also taking you through the estimating, budgeting, and bidding for your project. And then we see it all the way through completion. So making sure that all of your projects are done properly, and that in the end you do actually meet compliance, and continuing on with annual monitoring if that's how you choose to go forward. So that's just a brief overview of our 13 phases. And now actually we are gonna stop sharing the screen and transition to the roundtable. We do have some questions that we'll start off with, but if you do want to add your questions to the Q&A or the chat, we will add those on to the end as well. So I guess one of the first questions that we had, which was pre-submitted actually, is, and any of you can jump in to answer, so feel free to do that, but what are the strategies for calculating or assessing greenhouse gas emissions for tenants in order to establish emissions targets? So I guess this person is just wondering how those targets are determined.
Larry, would you know that answer?
Yeah, let me take a stab at it. If I understand the question, it's about what type of, how the limits are assessed for a different type of building. And this is basically a study from benchmarking of buildings in different categories. So buildings that are, 80, 90, 100 years old that are multifamily, residential are going to be looked at and assigned carbon emission limits differently than, say, a non-refrigerated warehouse on the low end, or a 24/7 full service hospital, which would have a lot higher limit for emissions given the energy intensity of the property. From a tenant standpoint versus the common areas of the building, tenants, there's any number of measures that we recommend for residents to convert to LED lighting, to use low flow faucets and shower heads, which are actually quite effective at providing the right amount of water pressure and reducing hot water use, which of course requires energy to make, and to then look at the common areas, especially central heating, central boilers for steam or hot water. And these are the systems that are assessed for a standard of operation, which relates to the type of emissions that are calculated for a limit for each type of building.
And that's defined really, I guess, in the property types, which we can, subdivide technically about the square footage, about how much the uses are being used in one, for one use versus another. So obviously, and in general, I know that one of the biggest complaints we've had from, building owners or management companies is they're fed up with getting fined for their tenants. So like, it's something that they have no control over, but they're still getting fines for it. And it's an ongoing conversation, and it leads back to, and in terms of like on Latitudes, and we do offer tenant education, and we try to come up with a owner tenant plan together, with the building owner management company, and try to incentivize, not just, with, low flow and all that jazz. Sometimes you need to have like more of a social competition or incentive, which we try to work. Obviously, it's very catered for the types of tenants that are there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And even some of the basics that we try and educate owners to educate their tenants on rental properties. If, for example, the tenants are responsible for buying their own window air conditioner, if they buy the least expensive one and just have to run it all day and all night because otherwise it's not cool enough, it's not only a waste of energy for the responsibility of the owner, but it's inefficient cooling for the resident themselves. So having the right size window air conditioner, even if it costs more up front, will provide far greater comfort and be more efficient to help keep costs down for the owner, which eventually are going to have impact on the renters.
Also, their energy efficiency rating won't be a B or a C or a D, but maybe an A if they do it properly. We came out, and Mark Hertz company came out with a post that, as you would not go into a restaurant that's listed as a B, C, or D, because that usually means it's not clean, but an apartment, and a residential building that is listed as anything less than an A, doesn't mean the management is no good. Doesn't mean the management is not responsive. Doesn't mean they don't care for the building. But if a tenant heats their apartment by turning on the gas stove, or runs their shower a half hour to an hour before they go in to use it, that all of those, or is not using LED lighting, all of those things will affect their energy grade that they receive.
100%. And I even think that the one of the issues that I've heard from one of a client of ours, where they changed to low flow, shower heads and then just because of the efficiency of it, it didn't have the pressure of the shower. They just swapped it out. They kind of just, swapped it out. So it's more about how are you offering a better deal? You need to incentivize them in something that they actually want, and they're going to keep it. You don't want them to kind of back end what you going back in circles. You have to kind of come up with a plan together.
You have to educate the tenants as well. You have to talk to them, meet
Yes.
them, explain to them.
Exactly.
Yeah, so actually we just got another question from a participant right now from Kevin George. Do you have any insights you can share over how the city will define what best efforts entails?
This is like, oh, sorry, Larry, you're the best one to answer this. I'll comment after.
Right. It's a great question. It's certainly under consideration. I know from the Department of Buildings as to how to define best effort. Clearly, if penalties are high with old systems that are very inefficient, best effort could be just starting to prove that the operation of what you have has been improved, which could be, fairly minor retrofits. But at some point, if systems are past their end of useful life for any building, it needs to be replaced or upgraded. So I think in general, those are going to be the type of parameters for best effort. In addition, there could be, say, energy intensive manufacturing that is done in the outer boroughs in particular, and certain plants in Staten Island in particular, where they just require an enormous amount of energy for their business, and they can file for exceptions and show best effort within the context of their operation. So that's how I would view it and represent it at this point.
And also,
Larry, has there been any success in sort of farming large roofs of industrial spaces for community solar plants and being able to somehow bring that back into recs available to other buildings to offset?
My understanding is that individual industrial plants have looked at the possibility of getting, say, gas supplemented with hydrogen, and reducing the overall greenhouse gas emission that way, and or considering on-site power generation with hydrogen, or doing some other sort of renewable project. But some of the exceptions, and these are relatively few, are just there's energy intensity has to be looked at in a different light.
and also I was just, within Local 97, you kind of have that, they do write down those, Article 321, which is like the prescriptive measures, where like you can start with something like that, like getting boiler controls or insulating your pipes, stuff like that. That's something to start with, definitely. And then we can work out a good faith measures typical to your building. We'll do an assessment and we'll see what can we file and I guess I would bring that over to Mark. I have just a question for you. Do you assume that the filing for like the 97 reports that are starting in May of 2025, are they going to be similar to the benchmarking?
I would assume they're going to be similar to the benchmarking and to the energy efficiency reports, because as we discussed before, these were preludes to the Local 97. And while people may think that this is all an insurmountable and cumbersome, as I'm sitting here, forgive me for going back to my youth, I'm thinking of two songs that I think one's a song, one's a story that you all appreciate. One is the song about the knee bone connected to the thigh bone. Everything in your building is connected one to the next, as the human body is connected one to the next. And as this all sounds very difficult and very cumbersome, the story that comes to my mind is The Little Engine That Could. I'm sure we all remember reading that when we were younger. We are all the little engine that could. In the beginning, it's scary. I see Marty and Larry are smiling a little bit. In the beginning, it's scary.
I think we're both hoping you're not going to sing.
I promise you, you don't have enough insurance for me to sing. Even New York City doesn't have enough insurance for me to sing, so I'm not going to sing. But we're all the little engine that could. It's scary. It's a beginning. It's a starter. We have sayings in the Jewish world about things that you begin, how scary they are. It's scary, but in everything, every new venture and every new law is scary for the implementation. So while we believe that this is going to be similar to benchmarking, I hope Larry will confirm that, but similar to benchmarking, similar to energy efficiency, do we know yet? No, we don't know. We know one thing, that in this certain life, the only thing that's uncertain is the curveball and the new regulations that will come out. And what we're going to do with them, we're going to comply. And we're going to do the best we can and give it our best effort.
And following that, Mark, buildings that we do a quick assessment and they're facing, say, a $30,000 per year fine starting in 2024, 2030, they say, well, I'm never going to be able to make any changes that are going to be significant enough. And we say, well, let's see where you stand. Let's see what your systems look like. Let's direct you to the right resources that can properly evaluate and start with the most basic measures where the investment has a pretty good and rapid return. But let's get started. Let's come up with a plan. And that's really the idea. And along the lines of what the connection of bones in the body, when people talk about, well, I want to put in these great boiler controls. If you're not addressing the rest of the system, because it is an entire system, that will only have so much effect. So we try and point out the right steps to take in the right order to make a difference. Just like if you put in the greatest heating system ever, if you have leaky windows, you're going to lose a lot of that heat anyway. So let's try and address this in a more holistic way and a more practical way. And let's see where you stand and let's get started.
Larry, we're reaching the hour, and I don't want to go over time, but I just want to throw in a quick question that we were asked by one of our clients, which was a very interesting question. He owns buildings, and a few of his buildings have cellular towers on the top, and they run electricity almost full time. So his question was, how am I supposed to deal with something like that? I'm sort of bound by my lease to provide the power that they need. And there's very little in the form of systems that can actually reduce that power. And that was a question we didn't have an answer to. And I was wondering if you had some insight on that.
I do. There's a set of factors that apply to the building type use. So multifamily space is looked at in one sense, but the square footage that hosts the cell tower equipment should have a different factor with a higher cap. And I can look into this in more detail, but different uses of a building would have a different emissions calculations. So, we should dive into that further. And if there is an energy intensity about low square footage and high use for cellular equipment, then, this is something also we should bring to the Department of Buildings if it warrants discussion of an exception of some sort.
Understood. Okay. Sarah, is there anything else? So I think that's it, correct?
Yeah, thank you so much, Marty, Mark, Larry, for answering those questions so thoughtfully. And as you can see on the screen, this is our contact information, so feel free to connect with us if you have any additional questions, and we'll do our best to answer those for you. But thank you so much for joining us
Larry,
today.
a special thank you for New York City Accelerator and your team. They've been very helpful throughout this process, and we appreciate the partnership and appreciate working with you, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Ditto on that note, I'll take my hat off to you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Be well.
Be well.